In the last playing video I did, I asked you guys for some feedback on ways to improve the playing videos and maybe catch more people's attention and what you like, what you didn't like. And I'll be addressing more of those suggestions in coming videos, but I thought it'd be a good time to talk about tuning. Some people mentioned that in the last video with the SG that the tuning was off, and it was. And there are a couple of things I just figured I'd let you guys have a peek behind the curtain. This is my 2005 EJ Strat. It's the electric I've had the longest. Everything has gotten very stable through the years. The neck has been very stable. Had my friend Bobby put on a really good quality bone nut, and the fret height and the nut height are perfect, and everything is intonated. It's got a Callahan bridge, and I can play anywhere on the guitar. And it stays in tune, you know, pending if I don't, you know, when I fret too hard, if I fret too hard. So everywhere over the neck. It's in tune as a guitar gets. For some of you who will have heard that and say, well, that's not, you know, it's like 0.4% sharp. Everything's an approximation. There is no such thing as a perfectly tuned instrument. I could put this in a track with a piano and it would just be the slight chorusing that we're used to. But that SG is a relatively new guitar. I've had it a little bit over a year and has a very thin mahogany neck. And the weather has been changing like crazy in Memphis the last month. It's almost 80 degrees today and raining. 2 days ago, it was 30 degrees and raining. It's been going between 30 and 70 every couple of days, just ping-ponging. And the humidity is changing, the barometric pressure is changing, and that mahogany neck is kind of not settled in for a winter thing yet. That's part of it. The other part is I had put 9s on that SG because I like the way it bent, but I don't think that 9s are good for me to use on that guitar because I end up fretting too hard and bending the strings when I don't mean to because I'm used to Fenders with a longer scale. I've got 10s on this Strat in E flat, and my other Strat, which is in standard, I have 9s on, but again, it has the longer scale length. This is by far the most stable of the guitars. The SG is by far the least stable, but it's usually okay, except for right now. So I'm about to go to 10s on that, and I think I'll have more stable tuning on that. The Les Paul, though, offers some other challenges. I've had this Les Paul, 6 months or so. Much less than the SG, much less than the Strats or the Tele. Tele's the second most stable guitar I have. It's newer than the EJ Strat, but it's got an inch thick neck. Anyway, this Les Paul also has a mahogany neck like the SG, but it's a much thicker neck, and the neck tends to be stable. The issue I have with tuning on this guitar is it still has the factory plastic nut. And I've not had Bobby put a bone nut on here yet because he is backlogged until next year, and I don't want to have the guitar out of service that long or ask him to bump anyone else. So what I have been doing today is I have some nut slots, and I've been deepening the nut slots a little bit because the height at the nut is too high, and it still is on some strings more than others. The G, the E, low E, and the A are most noticeable, and the B to some extent. And this is not a slam at Gibson, really. I've rarely had a factory guitar where the nut was not intentionally left too high because they assume that professionals will then have it adjusted to however they want for their strings and action and relief and all that stuff. Oddly, my Eastman acoustic is the only guitar I've ever bought where I did not immediately have to go have a new nut put on it. If this weren't 2021 with COVID, I would have had that done within a week of getting this Les Paul. But my Gibson acoustic, my two Strats, my Tele, the SG, they all have bone nuts made for the strings I use and the relief I use. And there's no problem with going sharp down at the nut. This guitar is intonated, aside from the low E string. It's a little bit flat at the 12th, more on that in a second. But even with everything intonated here, because the nut height is too high, the lower strings tend to be sharp. Now, those of you who've been doing this a long time already know that. I'm trying to explain it to others. So I've begun to lower the nut slots, and I will do some more of that. But again, this has 9s, and just like the SG, I think I've been pulling the strings out of tune because the tension is much lower than I'm used to. So I'm gonna put on a set of 10s, and then I'll tweak the nut height as well. I'll have to change the intonation. That's why I stopped on the low E, because there's no need for me to perfectly chase the intonation with a gauge of string I'm no longer going to be using. So this is going to have 10s, and I'm going to try to lower the slots on this plastic factory nut, and then later Bobby will put a good bone nut on there and all will be perfect. I had tried to live with it because for demoing an amp, this thing gives really nice tones, but the intonation, it bothers me as well. These strings were in tune a minute or two ago. They're out a little bit. Let me give it the tuner. Again, the weather has been changing. So I never want to be that guy who subjects you to a whole bunch of out-of-tune guitars. You know, I love Uncle Doug. He gives good information, seems to be a good guy. His guitar is painful to listen to. Hear that? It's always tough to get the G string perfectly in tune on a Les Paul, but it can be a lot better than this. And the low E string goes sharp at these lower frets. But the tones this guitar gives are great, and I know that this will be a fantastic guitar. It'll be a better guitar once I put 10s on and do my own little tweaks to the plastic nut. Should be a fantastic guitar once Bobby actually does the new nut. And this is that AC30 that was unusable last week. I've changed out the switches and done some other things, and I need to talk to the owner about whether he wants me to put it back to where it was when I originally modded the amp, or if he wants some other mods that I also offer. And I need to do the effects loop fix on this AC30 Custom Classic, which I'll discuss that in a second video on this amp, another video on this amp. But whoever had me do it the first time didn't want that done. I think it makes a big difference. And there's a couple other little tweaks to make this thing really sound great, which I look forward to doing. And maybe by then this thing will sound more in tune. Trust me, it bothers me when it's out as well. That kills me.